Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Medic Zone YouTube channel. As you know, I'm Richard Wade. I kickstarted this channel a short while ago, and what we're doing on the Medic Zone on the YouTube side of things is inviting in selected guests to discuss their life in their medical capacity. And that might include doctors and dentists and army medics and offshore medics, anybody working in the medical sector. We're hoping to get plenty of people on to have a live chat with us on the channel, so that people can see what's going on around the world. I've got people lined up from Australia and New Zealand, and today a really special guest. I'm really, really honoured, and I don't say that lightly. I mean honoured and very proud to be able to invite today's guest on, but that will all be revealed in a moment. So we've got people watching live already. Thank you so much. What we've noticed, this is a new concept that the vast majority of people tend to log in later on and watch on the actual channel. If you're watching live now, thank you, and people are, thank you very much. I really appreciate you sparing the time to log in and see what we're up to. If you watch later on, thank you also. In either case, can I make a request, please? Can I request that you subscribe to the channel and set the alerts? This is going to become a regular thing where we bring guests on and we have some good, lively, informative chats. There's no theme, there's no rehearsals. We have no set agenda. We're going to go with the flow. We know it's going to go well. We know it's going to be a bit of fun and hopefully some laughs and maybe some tears, who knows, along the way as these things develop. But either way, they're unscripted, and take us as you find us, basically. So today's Friday the 6th of September 2024, and the guest I'm about to introduce you to, I've been following very closely on social media for quite a while now, actually, and the reasons for that will become blatantly clear shortly. We have various things in common, in particular relating to the military and the medical corps, the Royal Army Medical Corps, and more will be discussed about that shortly. But I also had the honour of actually meeting my next guest this year in Coventry, where she very kindly agreed to do a song at an army event that myself and a friend of mine organised, and I'll talk briefly about that in a moment as well. So everyone's thinking, well, who's coming on then? Who is this this guest that Richard has got sat in the green room? Well, without further ado, let me introduce you to Dr. Thao. Thao, good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning, Richard, and thank you very much for inviting me to come and chat to you about life and career and whatever we're going to talk about.
Oh, well, it really is a pleasure. I genuinely meant that. I'm going to bring on a couple of slides in a moment, and the way that I've just mentioned, it's live. We haven't rehearsed this. It's not scripted. No. We did a comms check, obviously, a short while ago to establish that we can see and hear each other. That's fine. So people are just going to have to take us as definders today, aren't they? That's just the way it goes. So let's see what we can come up with. So what I thought I'd do, Thao, is this is your time. Not people don't want to hear about me, but boring old Medic Zone guy sat here in Newcastle upon Tyne. I'm going to bring on some slides in a moment, a little selection of slides through the ages, but there are some missing, and the ones that are missing I think are really, really important, and that's your early years when you first came to England, because that's I think going to be a fascinating part of the story. I have no pictures about that. I've got nothing to show anyone, so your words will have to tell the story. But let me bring on my my little slides, and let's get the show on the road, shall we say? Let's put me and you down this side there. So, Thao, are you ready? Shall we go?
Show me the slides.
Before we go, where are you today? Just out of interest.
So I'm at home in Milton Keynes, in my sort of office, which is a mixture a room with multiple functions, including my office, a little gym where I try and keep fit. It's got a little mini, all my music things that I do. So yeah, I'm at home.
So so you mentioned such a mixture of stuff that's really relevant to what we're going to talk about, because I've never met such a busy person as you. I'm not sure if there's anything that you actually don't do, and that'll all become clear in a moment. So what I'm going to do is let's have a little flick through the slides, and we'll just chat as we go. I think the one that's on at the moment is obviously Medic Zone. That's this YouTube channel, and also I'll talk about this a lot at the end. I don't want to interfere with our show, but there's more to Medic Zone than just the YouTube channel. There's something coming very soon called Medic Zone, but I'll go into that later on once we've had our little brief chat today. So I've been gathering, I've been sort of snooping around and stalking the doctor. So I've been all over Facebook and LinkedIn, and I've dragged, and of course you sent me quite a number of photos. Thanks for those. But I wanted to kick off to try and get across to everybody, the breadth of what you actually do. You're a GP. You practice in Milton Keynes.
Yes.
You're a colonel in the Royal Army Medical Corps Reserves. But if that's not enough to keep you busy, you're a performer at a great level, and you're a singer and a song. Is there anything I'm missing out?
I do have family as well, so I've got 2 children to look after. I also do a lot of volunteering, so I support lots of different charities, including local charities and military charities, and also I've recently become a lifestyle medicine doctor, so I'm focusing on supporting people live a happier, longer life, and I'm also setting up, or just trying to set up, a Vietnamese community in Milton Keynes, because I think it's really important to for my family to know our roots, particularly my kids who are half Vietnamese. So yeah, I've been quite busy doing lots of different things.
Oh, absolutely. It's pretty much full on, and we're going to go, if it's okay, we'll go into each of those areas of your life shortly, and so I know people are going to want a bit more detail. Just before we do that, I just want something I want to mention right at the get-go. So we've got people watching live on YouTube now. So for those people who are watching live on YouTube, as part of this little presentation, there's the option, if you wish, in the YouTube comment section, if you have any questions, what you can do is simply type them into the YouTube box, and they will appear here on my screen on the right hand side. They don't appear live. I learned my lesson. I get to filter I've introduced a filter, because on one of my, not on this channel, on a different channel, some rather choice words were put across that were a little bit embarrassing. So I filtered them out now. But if you have any questions, or you have any comments relating to what Thao's talking about, then by all means pop them in the comment section, and I'll bring them onto the screen. So let's move along then. If I may just briefly mention where we met. So I was very much aware of you, and I have been for some time. Military related, you're very, very well known in military circles. But what I was particularly chuffed about, and I wanted to mention at the get-go here, was this event. So this event takes place every 2 years. It's the Royal Army Medical Corps Reunited Dinner. And for those of you who may not know, this is a dinner for former members of the Royal Army Medical Corps. It's a bit of a get-together. Myself and a colleague who you'll see in a moment on a photograph, Darren Sutton, we organised that. And this year, we kind of randomly reached out. We didn't really expect you to go, yeah, go on then, I'd love to come along. And so we reached out to you, Thao, and you, to our great surprise and delight, I must say, you went, yeah, okay then, see you there. And then the rest is history. And that's why, again, I'm so chuffed that you're giving more of your time today. Wanted to throw a quick picture up there, just to set the scene. So this was the night of the dinner, where we had one of the Chelsea pensioners on the left there, that's Ace Whittock, and then some of the wonderful guys who are the standard bearers. And then you got myself and the tallest man in the world, Daz Sutton. Daz is a very old friend of mine. We actually joined the army on the same day in September 1982, many years ago. We then served for many years together, and we used to play basketball together. Daz and I used to play core basketball. Daz is an army basketball player, and then of course there's your very good self, Thao, in the middle there. Now, the reason I wanted to put this up is because of the shock factor that you gave on the night when you came on and you sang a song. I'm not going to talk about that song at this point because we'll talk about it later, and we might even play it. But when you sang the song that you sang that night, I wasn't expecting, and nor was anyone else in the audience, the impact that was going to have and how it was going to resonate with the members of the Royal Army Medical Corps, given what the song was about. But I don't want to spoil that for now. I'm going to come on to that later. And I remember you, because no one knew. We hadn't told anybody, by the way, that you were coming to sing the song or any song. No people. I was watching people looking around. Who's the army officer then? Who's the army officer there in mess dress? No one had a clue really. And then for people who don't know, who wouldn't have been there on the night, Thao, you came on with Ace, the Chelsea pensioner, and the standard bit. And I could see everyone thinking, what the hell's going on here? And you all came and stood on the stage. And then there was this silence. And then off you went and you did your song. And I this is as true as I'm sat here now. I was looking around my table. I won't actually name him, but it's a very good friend of mine called Jeff McGowan. Did I just name him? Sorry, I must have just named him. And I was watching him very closely. And he had tears streamed. It was very emotional, and the hairs on people's arms were standing up. And that's again why I'm so chuffed that you're here today.
For me, it was a very emotional performance because I could feel the emotion in the crowd and the silence while I was singing. And that was why I wrote that song, was to express about being in the army, about being in the Royal Army Medical Corps, and why it's important, and why we who serve in the Royal Army Medical Corps, joined, what it's all about. And I'm so glad that people had that reaction, because that was how the song was written.
It had that desired effect, and in fact, let's name it now. So it's faithful in adversity.
Yes,
it is what you've called the song, and then of course that is the motto of, for those who don't know, for any non-REMs, people who watch this going forward. Faithful in adversity, in arduis fidelis, is obviously the motto.
So there are two versions of the song. One called In Arduis Fidelis, which is the sort of band version, which I sung, and then there is the pop version called In Arduis Fidelis as well, for people who want a more lively element of the song.
Yeah, I was thinking about this afterwards and watching the audience, because it was a brilliant performance. It really, and it was moving, and I think it's because the people in the audience, all medical corps, at some point in their lives, the vast majority of them, along with their wives and boyfriends and girlfriends and family members, that they really understood that what that actually means. And I think it got me thinking. I think, wow, yeah, what does it mean? What is it to be the medic, whether that's in Civvy Street or the army? And it is about helping, and it's been there for others, and I think we'll discuss that in much more detail as we go forward. What you do is all devoted to other people, entirely, But let's look at that. But that, wow, what a night that turned out. That was absolutely fantastic. Of course, you set the bar now, so there's another one. Well, we're already planning for 2026. We're going to do it at the same venue, and let's. Yeah, did I show a picture? I did, didn't I? So this big fella in the middle there, him and I are already planning away for 2026. We're going to keep the venue because it was so good, and keep your eyes out for a colonel, doctor, singer, songwriter, because who knows, you may agree to come again. and but anyway, so that's where we
yeah,
first,
that's where we met.
and I'm so glad about it. So anyway, back to my stalking days. I started trawling the internet. Let's go and find some pictures of the doc and how I found various ones. There's no secrets in these photographs. They're from the public domain, as you know. So I'm not going to breach any confidential stuff here. But I was just curious because as I went through the various pictures, so many different scenarios, as we're going to see. Are you happy to just give us a quick sort of resume of what's going on as we go through the slide?
Yeah. So I thought, why don't we start from the beginning, because that has a great impact on what I do, why I do things, and why I joined the army. This picture here is me supporting the Milton Keynes Dons military event in one of the remembrance games that they put on, and again I'll be supporting that this year in remembrance in November. However, if we go back to the very, very beginning, so many people may or may not know, is that I'm actually a Vietnamese refugee following the Vietnam War back in the 1970s, and my family and I, so it was just my parents and my elder sister, we were one of the boat people after the Vietnam War. So we were, I think this was about 1980, even though it was a long time after the war, there was still some conflict, internal civilian conflict. And my parents made the decision to leave the country. And so we...
Oh, you're on. It's all right. You've got centre stage.
So we got onto a fishing boat with lots of other people, all crammed in. I don't remember it because I was so young. I was probably about 2 or 3 years old. But my parents remember it vividly. Yeah, so we got into a fishing boat with lots of people, all crammed in like sardines. You only had what you wore. There was very limited food and water, which we ran out very quickly. So we were floating out in the ocean for about 3 days, and we were very lucky to be rescued by a British ship, which is how my family ended up in the UK. But first, so in that time, the country who rescued you took you to their country, which is why I've got family scattered all over the world, including America, France, Germany, Australia, and that's the reason why I've got so many people, family, around the world. And we were taken to Singapore in a refugee camp, and before we were flown over to the UK and to Edinburgh, one of the coldest part of the country that you can think of. So we lived in Edinburgh for about a year. We made really lots of good friends there, and but we found it too cold, as you can probably imagine. And so my parents took us to London on the train with all our things. Wow. So from that, I feel very lucky to have the opportunity to have a new life.
Yeah. What can I just ask a couple of quick questions on that? What age were you then?
I think I was about 2 or 3 years old.
Wow.
But if you listen to my mother tell the story, she said that me personally, I'm really lucky to be alive because I was dying.
Wow. Okay. So that's quite
without
quite
even
an
water. Being so young in that heat.
yeah.
And she
Exactly.
said that,
So,
I was just really lucky that on that day I was rescued by a British ship. And she felt that,
that,
a few more hours later, I would have died.
wow. Okay. Well, what an interesting start to life. So off to Edinburgh. I can imagine that was quite a shock to the system. Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I joined the army, is because I feel that I want to give something back to the country that gave me and my family an opportunity and a new life.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of payback. That's quite fascinating. That's obviously became the theme, hasn't it? That gratitude and that payback, and that's a life of service, I guess. If we go back to that time, then, so your family. So now in the UK, you escaped from Scotland, got down to London. That was a little bit warmer, probably. So did you do all your schooling? Did you grow up in school,
Yeah,
etc.?
so I grew up in London, in the East End of
Yeah.
London, Hackney, and I did,
Ah,
went do all my schooling, primary school, secondary school, and then I went to university in Nottingham. Yeah, so
that's amazing. I'm trying to think about your parents then. So language, were they able to? Did they have any English because when they first came
no, they
over?
didn't.
Was
I think my mum may have a little bit English, but it was a big struggle for them learning English. So that's one of the things that was offered to us when we went to the UK, was education in terms of, me and my sister. We went into the English education. My parents had English lessons, taught to speak, write in English.
wow.
Although they often spoke to us in Vietnamese, so I'm partially bilingual, so I
Oh,
understand
good. Okay.
a little Vietnamese.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
as you
that's
can
good.
tell from my accent, um, I'm
Yeah.
I've got a completely English background.
Absolutely. Yeah. Did you become the family interpreter then? I guess growing up as well. Were you the
Yeah,
child interpreter? Yeah, that's brilliant.
yeah, the child
So
interpreter.
yeah. So how was school life then? Like got through primary and then into higher school. Before you went off to university and all that. Was that a good experience? Was that a
Yeah,
nice time of life?
I really enjoyed it actually. Some people don't enjoy schooling, my kids don't, but I really enjoyed it, and I think it is partly because I'm grateful for having that opportunity,
Yeah.
to learn, to grow, to develop, to make friendships, and to have a different life from what it could have been like.
Yeah,
Um,
sure. And obviously
and
grasped it by the nettle, obviously. And then at
yeah,
what point did you think, medicine, that's a good place to go?
well, it's with my culture and my background, because we came to the UK without anything apart from the clothes that was on our backs. Education was what my parents felt, was the only way forward for us to develop, grow, and build, a life for ourselves. So, which is why, for me, education is so important. Not just to it's more than just about learning. It's about making that bondship, it's about making that connections and building a wider community, um, around you that will support you in life.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
yeah, I really enjoyed education. And when you mentioned when did I want to be a doctor, do you know what, my parents always wanted one of us to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever you.
yeah, yeah.
But to me, that wasn't the case. You may be surprised to know that for a long period of time, I actually wanted to be a nun.
None.
Yeah. So my family are Catholic. So I was raised up, in a Catholic environment. I was
Yeah,
baptized, I was confirmed, all the things that you do. And I really felt a strong bond. It wasn't particularly about religion. For me, it was more about what can we do in life to live a good and happy, long, fruitful life. That one.
Yeah.
And so I thought, and I looked up to, because I went to a convent school where there were nuns who went to primary school, which was a Catholic school. So I surrounded by nuns, and I looked up to them. I thought, you do such a good job, and the life that you lead is so inspiring that I thought, I want to be a nun. And it wasn't until I did my GCSEs and I got some really good grades, and I thought, actually, I'm actually quite clever.
Yeah. What else is available?
And I thought, well, maybe I can be a doctor then.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And then I thought, maybe I can be a doctor. So I did the A levels that I needed to become a doctor. And I thought, why don't I become a doctor and help people in a different way? Help people live a healthier life. And then I got the grades. I went to medical school. Then I decided to become a general practitioner because I wanted to be that family doctor in the community that would help people. And so, I worked in the NHS. And when I was at university, I joined before I went to university, when I was about 16 and 17, I looked at joining the regular army because I wanted, as I mentioned, I wanted to serve in the army and give back to the country that gave me and my family a life. But when I went to university, I decided that I'd join the Army Officer Training Corps instead. And so I did that for 3 years while I was at university, and then transferred into the Army Reserves in 2000. And since then, I've been in the Army Reserve because I've really enjoyed it. It's developed me as a person. It's given me lots of different opportunities in life. And people keep telling me, "Thao, when are you going to leave the army?" And I'm like, well, when I stop enjoying it, then I'll stop doing it.
Stick with it. It's great.
Yeah. I really enjoy it. I still do. So that's my story, my early story about sort of life when I was little and going into university and becoming a doctor.
So if we sort of come around then, so that brings us to where we are now. You full-time GP, aren't you, Milton Keynes?
So I started off as a full-time GP, but as then I got married, had children, and then I decided to cut that down when I got pregnant. When I had my first child, I cut down to part-time, and then I cut it down even further to half-time of being in general practice while I had a young family. But that gave me an opportunity to increase the work that I do with the military and in the Army Reserves. And since then, I've been I have what we call a portfolio career, where I do part-time in the NHS and part-time in the Army Reserve. So I do between 2 to 3 days in the NHS and then 2 days in the Army, which usually leaves me about 1 day of my own time, which I feel that I do need because all the other things that I do outside of my paid job. So I do quite a lot of things that are unpaid, which I volunteer for.
There's always something going on. I see it regularly, whether it's on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram. It's like, whoa, there's a charity event there, or you're singing here, or there's something going on in the cafe over there, and it's quite fascinating. Well, if we can just mention the military side at the moment, then, because that in itself is quite fascinating. It's a fascinating thing to do, and a brilliant thing to do within the corps, within the medical corps. Very close to my heart. I spent 15 years in the medical corps. So, has that seen you off to various parts of the world? Did you get a lot of traveling as part of that?
So
as well?
one of the other reasons I wanted to join the army was to give me lots of different opportunities to personally develop myself as a leader, as a commander, but also gave me the opportunity to travel overseas on exercise, on deployments. So I've had a really good military career in terms of experience. So I've served in the field hospitals. I've served with some rifles. I'm currently serving in regional command, more of strategic and in staff officer role. So I've looked after soldiers at home and overseas. So, for example, I've been to Germany, the USA, Gibraltar, Cyprus, and even New Zealand. Can you imagine that? I've been to New Zealand with the army as well.
What a fantastic opportunity! And
and I've enjoyed every aspect of it.
It comes across that you live your life to the full, and
and I love it, which is why I'm not ashamed, and I'm really proud to say that I serve, and which is why I think I've written about 6 songs relating to military life. Which is the reason why I wrote those songs, is because I'm so proud to serve and I want to share it with people.
Yeah, exactly. That is brilliant. At what point do you think, I've got a bit of a voice here as well? I can sing.
So that's
singing in the shower one day. So
I've always enjoyed singing, even as a child, and performing. If you talk to sort of close family and friends who've known me since I was really little, they would tell you that I would rope my sisters into performing. So whenever we knew that family or friends were coming over, I would develop a performance. So we'd either sing a song or we'd do a little play or a little musical, and clearly I would be the star of the show.
Of course.
And then my sisters would be the supporting acts. and we really enjoyed it. So I've really enjoyed singing and performing when I was younger, but through education and through sort of the medical career, you have to focus on that. There's a lot of learning. There's a lot of exams. Like, in the first 2 years of medical school, we'd have exams twice a year. And the exams were in over a 5-day period. And we would have about 10 to 11 exams to sit in 5 days. So the intensity of that learning. So you're just so focused on that you can't think of anything else apart from, learning, passing exams, getting that qualification. And then again, after you qualify, you have to do the postgraduate training to become a specialist in whatever field you want to be in. So it's not just about, passing medical school and then becoming a doctor. You then have to specialize in something. So I decided to specialize in general practice. And again, that's a few more years and more exams, etc. And so I couldn't focus on music. And then when I became a qualified GP and did a few years in general practice, the working in the NHS is very intense. And I went through a very dark stage in life, to the point that I didn't want to live anymore.
Oh, right. Okay. What period is this? COVID time or a different period?
It was before COVID.
Right. Okay.
And then I remember sitting talking to my husband about it. And he said to me, "Look, Thao, you just need to find something to get out of it." And so I just thought, what can I do to make me feel better?
Yeah.
So then I turned to music.
Brilliant.
And so I joined a choir, and I really enjoyed singing and performing in the choir. And then I decided, actually, I really enjoy singing, and I think I might be good. So then I thought I decided to go solo. And so I found a vocal coach who then inspired me to do more than just sing. She said, "Oh, why don't you do, your singing grades and see how far you can go?" So I thought, "Oh, okay, then I'll do my exams." So over a period of about 1 or 2 years with her, we just decided, look, Thao, why don't you just go for your grade 8 vocal exam, which is the highest grade that you can go into. So we skipped grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and went straight to grade 8. And for some odd reason, I passed that. So that's for me, that was a huge achievement. And then that kind of proved to me that actually, Thao, you can sing. And then she said to me, well, Thao, now that we know that you can sing, why don't you songwrite? And I said, what?
Wow. Did that come along? Did that come naturally? You know, the songwriting side. That can't be that easy. I've seen the outputs. I love it.
No, it's not that easy. You do have to have a musical background. So I did music GCSE. So I did get an A for my GCSE, and I did do some. I did do my music theory exams as well when I was younger in secondary school. And I did play some instruments. I dabbled a bit with the piano, so I do understand the piano. But I couldn't coordinate my left and my right hand. So I only managed to get to grade 3 on my piano, then I gave that up. But I did play the trumpet or the cornet, which is a smaller version of the trumpet, and did my grades in that as well. So I do have an understanding of music. So she said to me, my vocal coach, Kirsty, she said to me, Thao, why don't you try writing a song? So her and I got together and we wrote my first debut song called Trapeze. So I wanted my first song to be about mental well-being, because that was the reason why I went to music, why I went into singing and songwriting, was to support my own personal mental well-being and mental resilience. And then we released my song, I think it was in 2019 or 2020, my first song called Trapeze. And that song raised £1,000 for combat stress. So quite a lot of the things that I do is not about myself. It's about, for me, it's really important to share our lives with each other, support each other in what we do. And for me, that's why it's so important to support charities, to support our local community and support the wider community, because, you only have one life. And for me, it's about living the most of that life and living the most of that life together as a community, whether it's a community with your own family, with your own friends, or whether it's a wider community. So, for example, I support the veterans a lot in Milton Keynes and wider. And so for me, that's really important. And as you know what, you're not the only person who's said to me, Thao, you live a life of service. To me, I don't see it as a life of service. To me, it's living a life that means something, living a life that matters.
Well,
and
I think you're right.
Together.
And I think impact and legacy will be part of that as well. And I'm guessing that's probably very, very important. But
So one of my songs called Inspire, because I hope that I can be inspiring to people, not to be me, because it's about being you and being the best person that you can be, whatever your skill set may be, because everyone is different, and everyone, interestingly, when I was driving my kids yesterday, they were talking about being superheroes, and my daughter, she's so sweet, she goes, oh, Mum, you're my superhero. And I said, everyone is a superhero, and you can be your own superhero, and you just need to find that niche. You just need to find what makes you tick so that you can be a hero as well.
That's absolutely brilliant. It really is. So what's coming up shortly then? What's on the agenda? I think I've seen something very recently where you might be a finalist in the Reservist of the Year. Tell us what's that all about? What happens there?
So the Veteran Foundation does annual awards, and one of the categories is Reservist of the Year. So the Veteran Foundation supports sort of veterans, people who've left the army, the military. So it's about the tri-service. And one of the categories is Reservist of the Year. What do you do as a reservist to support the veterans, to support the wider military? And so I've been, quite honoured to become a finalist of that, and that's for sort of the work that I do with the veterans locally, and also sort of the work I do with the wider army. So for example, like you, Richard, you organised the RNC dinner night. I founded and set up the local Milton Keynes, where I live, Armed Forces dinner night, focusing on bringing the veterans back to the mess. As you can understand, Richard, when you're in the military, having sort of mess dinners is a really important part of, of military life, where we, it's a formal dinner with lots of traditions, and it's really important. And when you leave that, you lose that connection, you lose that tradition. So I felt that it was really important to bring that back for our local veterans. So I thought, no, let's just do it. I got a group of people together and said, let's just do this. And so we did. So we hosted it in one of the military barracks in Milton Keynes, because again, for me, it's important to bring them back into that military setting. Yeah. Because once, do you know what? Once you join the military, it never leaves you.
No, absolutely never.
You'll always be part of it. And for me, it's really important for the local veterans to still feel part of the wider armed forces, and that's how I set it up. So the dinner night, the first one that we did 2 years ago, I think there were about 60 people in attendance, and about 30% of those were veterans. And this year we had about 90 people in attendance, and 60% of veterans attended. And next, we're starting to plan 2025 now. And already we've got lots of interest, a lot of veterans, really enjoy it, because we do all the traditional things that you would in a regimental dinner night. So you have the head table, you have the speeches, you have the toast, you have absent friends, all those things. The layout is exactly the same. You have all the silverware and everything.
You fit it on the head. Those traditions, people, we move on. We leave, but those things, they don't leave you there. And to go back to that, it's like, it's like back in the day. It's absolutely fantastic, and I guess that's why Daz and I were very happy to take over the mantle of running the dinner that you kind of came to back in April. Because it's just a good get together. It's a great atmosphere. It's a good laugh, and it's just a nice thing to do. So we got the Reservist thing coming up. You've got your Milton Keynes veterans thing. What else? Any sort of performances coming up? Is there anything? We'll put all the notes, by the way, at the end of this on the actual YouTube channel of where people can find you and what where you hang out, as it were, on social media. Links to your songs and etc. But is there anything coming up musically? Any concerts or performances or anything?
So I'm performing not this weekend, next weekend at the RAF Museum in Staffordshire, supporting their family day there. So I'll be singing a mixture of pop songs and some of my original songs as well. So I'll be performing in some of the local remembrance events. I've got every year at the Parkside Medical Centre where I work, we always host a Christmas concert, which is really nice, a fun thing for our patients, and so we'll be doing that as well. So I've been busy at the moment, sort of songwriting. So I've got a few new releases coming out this year, including another Christmas song that will be coming out. So my next song coming out, hopefully by the end of this month, is called Lightning, which is about sort of being more than you think you can be, and sort of winning and daring to win. I've got a song about living well. So as I mentioned earlier, I've just qualified last year to be a lifestyle medicine doctor. I've given recent chats about cancer and how we can reduce our risk of cancer. I've got a few more talks this year about that as well. So the song is called Blue Zone, and that's going to be released in October. I'm going to be re-releasing a song called Lest We Forget in November, which, although I've released it already about 4 years ago, I'm going to re-release it as a piano version for remembrance. So it's been really busy. As I mentioned, I've been trying to set up this sort of Vietnamese community. I support local charities, so I'm hoping I should be doing another podcast as well with a local charity called the Henry Allen Trust to talk about childhood cancer. So yeah, lots of different things. I still support. I'm still the medical advisor for Buckinghamshire SAFA charity. I'm looking to do some more charity walks and more physical stuff because I think it's really important to keep fit and healthy. So as you've been stalking me on social media, you would have noticed I did the SAFA charity 13 Bridges walk back in sort of June or July. That was really fun, actually. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah,
I'll probably do it again next year.
Do you get a holiday? I hope you managed to get a break in amongst all of this.
Yeah. I've had some holiday with the family. I'm going to have a big holiday in December with my family as well. We're going to go over to New Zealand and to see my sister who emigrated there. So it'd be really nice to spend that time with family.
Wow, so it's a place very close to my heart. I used to live in New Zealand, lived there for a few years. I've got lots of very, very good friends there. And one of my children, my youngest boy, Adam, he was born in New Zealand. So I absolutely love that country. So
when I started writing music, I wanted to, I don't make money writing music, but what I wanted to use that platform for was to talk about things that we don't tend to talk about. So one of the, my debut song is about mental health and mental resilience. I've written a song about domestic violence, and all the songs that I write at the moment tend to have a personal element to it about my own experiences, which is why I've written so many songs about being in the military. Be the Best I wrote for the Army and raises up money for the Army Benevolent Fund. I've written about the Air Force called Wings of Glory, and I've written about the Navy, Waves of Courage. But there are also other topics that my songs touch on, including domestic violence, called Breaking Free, trying to let people be aware about domestic abuse, and also I hope that the song resonates with people going through sort of domestic abuse, to know that you're not the only one, and it can affect anybody, and that there's so much support out there. And to me, it was important to do because a lot of people, being a doctor, it's one of the top 5 most respected professions in the world, and people always think, you're a doctor, nothing happens to you, you're almost on a pedestal, aren't you? But actually, we're all humans, and we do experience things just like everybody else. And one of those things in my life was experiencing domestic abuse, and I felt that it was important to share that. I mean, I don't talk about it a lot because it's really difficult to talk about. But what I found was actually I could talk about it in song. So the lyrics,
the outlet for it,
so the lyrics of those songs are very personal to me. So
I think that's one thing that is really important, is it's the lyrics in your songs that give the meaning, and I know that was why at the Coventry dinner it was so it really was one of those whoa, what's just happened there moments. And it's because of the words, and it's because of I think the feeling that comes across when you perform your songs. I think today has been really interesting, actually. So it's particularly interesting for me because I now have a deeper understanding of what you've been putting out there, songwriting, and I kind of get more of, I get it now. and I'm going to listen more carefully. I'm going to go back and listen more carefully, and hopefully other people do likewise. So again, it sticks with the theme of Thao, doesn't it? It's from the heart, and it's to help other people, you know. And as you said, living the best life that you can, and for other people, which is absolutely fascinating, very highly commendable. It's unbelievable. So we are rounding this up. So we've been on for 50 minutes already. I can't believe it. It's been absolutely.
It feels like 20 minutes because there's so much.
It's brilliant.
There's so much to talk about.
And I knew this was going to be a lovely, lovely episode, and because of who you are and how, you know, how you talk to people, the empathy you've got for people, and what you do, what you give to society effectively through not just being a doctor and an army officer, but just being you, basically. An all-round good girl, if I may say so myself.
Thank you very much, Richard.
And I mean that. I genuinely mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I'm so, excuse me, so grateful for you coming on. So, opportunity, before I bring on the song that really got me tuned in to what you're talking about, for you, Thao, for you to, is there anything else that warrants mentioning here? You've touched on, you've been an absolutely fantastic guest, because it's gone off in directions that have really surprised me, but have really pleased me at the same time, because, you know, messages about domestic violence, messages about all these different things, and help and care and looking after people. It's gone off in directions I wasn't expecting, but I'm so pleased that it did. Is there anything that's going on in your life that people might want to know about? You know, you've mentioned your performances and your charity. Is there anything we don't know yet that you want us to know?
So, not that I can think of, but you may not know. A lot of the things I talk about that cafe, Richard, you mentioned, is I actually used to own that cafe as part of my portfolio. But you know, I found I didn't have a lot of time to dedicate it to it, so I sold that to my friend. But I still have, you know, I still support it a lot, and I think food is really important, particularly eating healthy foods as well. But if you want to see what I'm doing and keeping in touch with all the things that I do, and if you want to join in, or if you want to contact me, you know, you can see me on Facebook, YouTube. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. So and I'm happy for people to contact me. I've got a website page as well called taosinger.com, which has all my contacts.
Good.
You know, I love talking to people and being inspired by other people as well. So for me, it's just about sharing life and enjoying life and living it to the best that you can do.
That's awesome. Well, I think this would be a timely moment. Just do a couple of things. One, to say thank you. Giving up your time, from what I'm gathering, you're a busy woman, so that makes it even more relevant. A huge thank you for the time that you've been given to us today, because I know people are going to love this, and there's people watching now, and people will be. I will share it widely across social media, and it's going to resonate with a lot of people. I know that. It's been a lovely chat. Really enjoyed it. And what I think might be appropriate is if I put you and me off screen, and I bring in the song that you sang at the Royal Army Medical Corps Reunited dinner in Coventry this year, that had people in silence, and then at the end.
And in tears.
People were crying their eyes out. I was one of them, and a couple of my friends. And at the end, everyone went, "Oh!" And there was a huge cheer. Never seen that before at one of these dinners. It was like, you know, it was like, wow. People needed to do that to get that emotion out and get the heads back in the room.
And I felt that emotion, and I was so happy to share that song with everyone.
God, it was awesome. Shall we play it?
Yeah.
Let's play it. Bear with me 1 second. I'm going to play it.
shall not fail, as care we will provide you. No matter nation, king or creed, we can promise this: we are faithful in adversity, in arduous fidelist, in arduous fidelist, in arduous fidelist. We are faithful in adversity, in arduous fidelist. When battles rage and dangers rife, we'll never leave your side. Our promise is to protect our life, and by this we will abide. No matter nation, king or creed, we can promise this: we are faithful in adversity, in arduous fidelist, in arduous fidelist, in arduous fidelist. We are faithful in adversity, in arduous fidelist.
Well, how did you get up there? I have no idea. Hey, that's brilliant. So that was the song. That was the song. That's the song. I really do love that. And so let's wind it up, Thao. Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's been an honor, and I've really enjoyed it, and I know others will. In the show notes, I'll make sure we've got how people can contact you. If you just stay there for one moment, I'm going to end the stream now with my eternal gratitude. So
Thank you very much.
very much.